Gloomhaven is a board game created by Isaac Childress and published by Cephalofair Games. Originally announced on Kickstarter in 2015, the first printing of Gloomhaven had 4,900 backers and some $386,000. The second printing basically took both of those numbers and multiplied them by 10. The second printing in 2017 had 40,000 backers and almost $4 million. Board Game Geek is a website devoted to board games created in 2000. It has some 2 million members and around 20,000 new members signing up every month. Gloomhaven rests solidly as the #1 rated overall board game, the #1 most thematic board game, and the most strategic board game. And for those who don't know, we're not talking about board games like Sorry or Monopoly. Gloomhaven is beating out Twilight Imperium, Twilight Struggle, Star Wars Rebellion and Imperial Assault, Settlers of Catan, Pandemic, and Mage Knight. What makes this game special? Well, for one, Gloomhaven is what's known as a legacy board game. A legacy board game evolves and grows over the course of time with each play session. What starts off as a band of up to 4 characters with the town of Gloomhaven and 1 bandit cave unlocked quickly grows and evolves through branching storylines, quest trees, multiple NPCs with their own agendas, to a huge countryside of locations, side quests. Quest dialogue is presented to the players before, during, and after each mission, with each room unlocking new content and hidden treasures. There's a reputation meter keeping track of how the citizens of Gloomhaven and the inhabitants of the rest of the countryside view your party. Certain quests are locked behind reputation goals. Each of your characters has a personal quest, which remains hidden from the other players. Slay 20 bandits, for instance, to take revenge for the bandits that slaughtered your family. And this drives the type of missions that you want to play. This drives your character in how you act during each scenario. Maybe you'll play suboptimally in order to fulfill a personal goal. What would my character do? Each character that fulfills a personal quest retires, their reason for adventuring ceasing to exist. Once they retire, you unlocked one of the many sealed character boxes or sealed envelopes. Each of these has new content, new things to explore, new ways to interact with the game. There's an entire metagame involving a unique language to Gloomhaven, with some of the quest dialogue having to be deciphered through this decoder. There's Easter eggs and different hints of language interspersed throughout the map in different parts of the game world that you can kind of go into this rabbit hole and try and piece together this hidden message and unlock even more content. There's prosperity, which tracks the growth of the town of Gloomhaven and its inhabitants. How's the town doing? Is it prospering? Is it growing? Each prosperity level unlocks new items, unlocks new possibilities. And these are persistent again. And this expansive, living, breathing world is a part of what makes this game so unique and so great to play and experience and enjoy with others. And that's just one half of the game. Actually diving into a scenario, each scenario involves your characters being dealt a random battle goal. This battle goal, like the personal quest, is hidden from each of the other players. You look at this battle goal and they can be things from kill the first elite monster, to open a door, to loot the treasure chest, to never use an item. And these have rewards attached to them. Then you're presented with this sort of dungeon crawl aspect. You build a hand of cards from the total cards that you've unlocked. Each character can only bring so many cards into each scenario. And you play those cards 2 at a time, each turn face down. Once everyone's played a card face down, you flip over one of the monster AI cards and you reveal the cards that you've played. Each card is divided into 2 halves, a top and a bottom with a number written in the middle of it. The number represents your initiative. The lower the number, the faster the initiative, the faster your character acts in the turn order. Once it's your turn, you play the top half of one card and the bottom half of another card. And the strategy comes from not exactly knowing what your team members are going to do, not exactly knowing what the AI is going to do, and what the board state is going to look like once it's actually your turn. You might think, okay, I'm going to go pretty fast and I'm going to move 5 tiles and kill this bandit. But the sorcerer went faster than you and actually killed the bandit. So once it's your turn, okay, I was thinking about playing the bottom of this card to move and the top of this card to attack this single target. Well, instead, I'm going to kind of flip that and play the bottom of this card, which provides me a shield, and the top of the other card, which provides me a heal. Some strategy comes into play in how you maneuver those cards and how you try and maximize your turn when you don't exactly know what your team members are going to do in positioning and moving forward in the dungeon. Couple that with the time limit being each round that you run out of cards, you have to rest and you lose a card. So slowly over time, you're losing cards, you're losing options, and your character is kind of getting exhausted, more and more fatigued, until eventually you either beat the scenario successfully or everyone in the party has run out of cards to play and they get exhausted. In each scenario, there's experience to be earned by playing your cards a certain way. There's gold to be looted from dropped enemies and interspersed throughout the map. There's treasure chests to be looted with side scenarios that get unlocked, or unique item blueprints, or just a unique item that you cannot find anywhere else. Each character also earns a set amount of experience points. Accruing enough experience points allows you to level up. Each level up presents you with two options. Option 1, pick one of the two cards presented to you of that level. Let's say you leveled up to level 4. Okay, here's the 2 level 4 cards your character has available. Pick one of those and add them to your deck. And again, before each scenario, you look at the layout, you look at what enemies are there, you look at what you're going to have to navigate and face, and you build your hand to bring into that scenario. Or, option 2, take one of the cards that you didn't pick earlier from a prior level up. In addition to that, each attack is modified by a modifier deck. And that modifier deck basically ranges from -2 to +2, and you have a ×2 and a miss in there. But over the course of time, that gets better. All of a sudden, you start chaining these modifiers. You start mitigating the amount of negative modifiers that you can draw. And again, you play that character until they've fulfilled their personal quest and they retire and you can no longer play them. And that's a good thing, as every character that retires provides you, as the player of that character, a permanent bonus to every new character you decide to play. They ramp up quicker. They start with a stronger modifier deck. Everyone starts at a higher level, for instance. The dungeon crawl aspect and the sort of settlement aspect, both halves of these, also have a ton more stuff that I can mention. There's status effects. There's tons of monsters and difficulties and normal and elite monsters with different movesets. Each scenario is specifically designed and curated to evoke some type of feeling. The tiles that you use, the dungeon you crawl through, the forest that you go through, the enemies you fight on those tiles are reminiscent of that. Throughout the 95 scenarios available in the scenario book, there's tons of different locales and mission types and mission goals. Kill all enemies, make it to the escape zone, rescue this tree, for instance. On the way to each scenario, there's a random road event that's drawn that can benefit the party or negatively impact the party. Everyone starts the next scenario poisoned, for instance. In the settlement phase, you can donate some of your gold to help increase the prosperity of the town. Donating gold also confers a blessing to the party member that did that, where they add 2 × 2s to their modifier deck. There's city events that you can do when you interact with the town of Gloomhaven. There's so much to this game, there's so much growth to this game, and again, there's a few bits of hidden knowledge, not enough to break it and make it a feel bad, but there's enough bits of hidden knowledge in there that each player has their own personal goal. That means not everyone's playing optimally in each scenario, that it just radiates this fun environment to play with your friends, to gather a group of friends over, order some pizza, have drinks, and just enjoy the night with Gloomhaven. I love this game a lot. I've played hundreds and hundreds of hours of this game by myself with different play groups, trying different compositions. Hell, I had a podcast about Gloomhaven where I talked about it for basically 2 hours every single week. I love all that this game has to offer. Now, the sentiment that I was seeing online was an overwhelmingly negative one. The developers had a 4-hour live stream, I think last week. They had a trailer drop a couple days ago. Before the live stream was another trailer and an announcement. But basically, on every single platform I've heard about this game, there's a large chunk of the audience that's upset. Most of the people who are excited about Gloomhaven Digital know about Gloomhaven, right? So the vast majority of comments that I read, unfortunately, are like, why would you even think a single player roguelike dungeon crawl is what we want out of Gloomhaven? I'm not going to buy this until the multiplayer's in there. I'm not going to buy this until the campaign mode is in there. Why are you wasting your time on this? Until it has these features, I'm not purchasing this. This is a waste of time. You see that on the Steam page. You see that on the YouTube comments, on BGG, on the Discord channel, on Reddit, just everywhere. There's always some people bad-mouthing the game because it doesn't have Gloomhaven attached to it. And I think that's sad. Not that the comments are sad and the person writing it's sad, but I think it's sad the reaction that people have had towards this product. The developer of the product, Flaming Fowl, has one other game, and I can't remember the name of it, but it's some Fable card game. I think it was released in February of last year, and it got pretty good reviews on Steam. I think it has a mostly positive rating, but nothing before or after that. The publisher is Asmodee. Now, the publisher is very well known for doing digital board game adaptations. So all the features of the board game get ported over into PC or mobile. They do a lot of mobile games, and the feel of it is almost identical to the board game. Obviously, you have the graphical interface that's completely drawn from scratch, and then you have sound effects and features and things like that. But most of the time, it's like the board game ported over to a digital platform. So you have that history of Asmodee making digital adaptations. You hear the name Gloomhaven Digital, and then you see what it actually is. So I understand where the criticisms are coming from, but I don't think it negates the validity of the project that the developers are trying to work on. So we can infer from them only having released one little Fable card game a year ago that it's a smaller studio, and it's probably a passion project for them. They probably love Gloomhaven, love playing it themselves in the office, and wanted to bring that to more people. Hey, I think we can do a pretty cool thing with this. We can put our own unique twists and spins on it, and they are working with Isaac. For those who don't know, the creator of Gloomhaven, they're working with him on the features, on new bosses, on new events, on new items. So it's not like they're just going rogue and doing their own thing. It's pre-approved stuff, kinda, in a way. But here's a smaller team who said, we love Gloomhaven, we love the idea behind this, let's put our own unique twist on it, and let's just focus on the dungeon crawl aspect of it. Let's build this up and make it so it's not just a single scenario, but like a roguelike, and you kind of level up over the course of time, and you buy items and go on an adventure, and we can incorporate easy, medium, and hard scenarios and different adventure lengths in there, so people only have 30 minutes can still get some Gloomhaven in. And then we can build from there. We can add in new characters. But that's kind of what our vision is, the scope of our project, the team size that we have, the amount of money we have. This is what we want to work on. Presumably, that was agreed upon by Isaac, the developer, and the publisher. Now, when they actually announced the game, to be hit with this tidal wave of, well, this is worthless, this is pointless, I'm not going to buy it until it has this campaign, until it has multiplayer, until it has all these other features. As a developer, naturally you want, okay, hey, we've listened to the community. We're going to change things. We've taken your feedback into account. We understand how important the campaign is, how important multiplayer experiences are to enjoying Gloomhaven. We're going to work on that. That's coming, but we're going to release what we have. To hear that really sucks. And from a logistical standpoint, to understand that the scope of the project was here, and all of a sudden, hey, with the same size team that you have, presumably the same budget that you have, maybe the same timeline that you have, all of a sudden you need to develop 50% more. You have to program 50% more, add in all these assets, build in all these features, come up with some type of matchmaking or joining or lobby system. I know in the live stream they mentioned no matchmaking, but you need a way to actually invite your Steam friends in to connect with you. So is it a persistent lobby? Who's the owner of that lobby? Like all of this stuff that they had never signed on to do, that the money wasn't there to build out, that they had agreed with the developer and with the publisher and Isaac, hey, we're just going to do this, is now being like times two'd with the amount of work that they're doing. And I hope that they can follow through with it. I would love to play Gloomhaven Digital with my friends and easily have them join and just play the campaign with a nice graphical interface. That seems awesome. But I don't know. But again, I don't think them not having that means this project is worthless and you guys shouldn't support them or buy it. And I want to explain why. So I want to go through the live stream, some of the trailers, some of the notes that I've taken down from the Discord and from other various sources, just to talk about why I think this game is exciting. If you like Gloomhaven and you are on the fence, hopefully I can push you into the camp of, let me add it to my wish list and let me purchase it, or at least let me keep it on my wish list and let me see what other people say when it's dropped July 17th, and then maybe buy it, instead of firmly in the camp of, until multiplayer and campaigns fully developed, not even gonna waste my time on this. And if you've never heard of Gloomhaven, hopefully I can sell you on it. It's an amazing board game, and what they're doing so far with the digital version seems very exciting, and they've changed some things that I think are actually a good thing. So the developers' philosophy is they want the feel to be as close to the board game as possible, but they do want to be able to change a few things. They're working with Isaac again, so they're not going off on their own, developing stuff that just doesn't feel like Gloomhaven. But they also have a dislike of board states in which you've maxed out a character, meaning here's the character, here's the loadout I bring to every mission, here's the gear I bring to every mission, here's the turn order that I do. Like everything is set in stone because it's been meta game to the point that this is the best. You have your gripe away class guides on Reddit, like this is the build order that you do, these are the cards you take, here's the enhancements, here's the items, this is the best. And they don't like that. And I'm excited by that. As someone who's put hundreds and hundreds of hours into Gloomhaven, who had a Gloomhaven podcast where I talked about basically every class and every feature of the game for multiple hours a week, I'm excited about the idea of mixing it up. So the game is party-based and not character-based, meaning instead of picking one character when you sit down to play Gloomhaven, instead you pick a party. Okay, I'm going to play these 2 characters or these 3 characters or these 4 characters. The gold is shared between those characters. Obviously, when you would play just one character, all the gold and the loot would just be for you, for yourself, and that lended a little bit to the not knowing what everyone else is doing, as well as to a slightly competitive element of Gloomhaven. But it's party-based. Everything is shared between those party members. There's achievements in the sense of some like combat challenges that you can do, and those achievements will earn you renown, and you spend that renown to unlock stuff. They said there's 4 characters in the game currently: the Spellweaver, the Brute, the Cragheart, and the Scoundrel, with the other 2 starter characters being next in line, the Scoundrel and the Mind Thief and the Tinkerer. But they didn't say if those are going to be locked and you need to spend renown on them. They didn't say if you purchase new items with renown. They didn't say if you unlock new scenarios with renown. They just said you unlock stuff with it. But there is some type of currency in there. I don't know. Multiplayer and campaign is confirmed, but there's no timeline for that at all. And the idea is once it's actually released, that's when the game is going to move out of early access to a full 1.0 release. So if you're waiting, if you don't like early access just at all, once the campaign and multiplayer is rolled in there, that's when the game is going live or going gold, essentially. New bosses, new road events, new stuff. They've changed a couple of the terms. One of them was they changed lost to burn. They felt it read easier, so maybe they're changing a little. Maybe they're changing some other things in the game to make it more readable for new people, who don't understand the game. But the two biggest things that their philosophy has changed are durability and leveling up. So in the board game, there's no durability. You buy an item, you just have it. Part of their vision against achieving this one board state where this is all you use over and over is durability. And they're tweaking that. But the idea that you can only use this weapon or this headpiece so many times before it wears out and then you have to swap it for something else, I find kind of interesting. I'm also against, every single character is you buy the same 2 potions, then you buy the best headpiece and chest piece and leg piece, and then the 2 arm slots, then any other potions that you need to flesh it out, and you just sit on that. You don't spend the gold on any of their items, you just kind of have this money sink for enhancements, but there's nothing character-wise that you change. And they're trying to tweak that. Okay, you only have this super powerful item for maybe one scenario, and then you need to mix things up again. The level up system, now when you level up, you get 3 cards and you pick one. 3 random cards and you pick one. And I couldn't get a sense of what level those cards were. All the cards I did see were from the base game. They're not making up new cards. But normally when you level up in the board game, let's say you hit level 4, you're presented with 2 options. One is there's 2 level 4 cards and you get to pick one of them to add into your deck. Alternatively, option 2, you can pick one of the level 3 or one of the level 2 cards that you didn't pick prior. And that's basically it. Their version is, hey, you leveled up, here's like 3 random cards. Pick one. Pick the best one for where you're at in the game or what you need or what your party composition needs. And again, I find that intellectually interesting. It's not the same loadout. It's not the same build every single time. You're mixing things up, and that seems kind of cool. There's no mention of the modifier decks being changed, and I couldn't get a grasp of if it updated when you leveled up or if you spend renown on that or what. But the modifier deck, for those who don't know, essentially when you make an attack, okay, this attack deals 2 damage to this enemy, you'd flip over a modifier deck, and that would be a numerical value, which would put status effects on there, add more damage, or, oh no, you missed, things like that. And as you get stronger, that deck gets better, does more stuff. There's no mention of that. Like I said earlier, they have an easy, medium, and hard difficulty. And for each of those difficulties that you choose, there's short, medium, and long scenarios. Now, they're all randomly procedurally generated, but you do get some curation in what kind of experience you want. Overall, combat remains the same, and that's what this game has to offer. All the cards that I saw are straight from the board game. There were some minor bugs, but quite literally every bug I noticed, they had immediately called it out. Hey, we're working on that, we're working on that, we're working on that. So nothing too crazy. Now, automation helps a ton with this. If you're familiar with Gloomhaven, you're familiar with, what does he do? Who does he attack here? Does the skeleton move here? Okay, so does the archer back up in this tile or this tile, and then does he shoot this character or this character? And okay, in this scenario, does the skeleton hit these 2 people or these 2 people? The AI can be quite complex in how it maneuvers and who its focus is and who it attacks. And having it all programmed out with Isaac's help is amazing. That takes a huge weight off your shoulders, and it also makes it just a little more streamlined and faster. If you've played Gloomhaven on Tabletop Simulator, you still flip over the card, and then you still have to figure out, okay, when this enemy's alive, all right, it's going to move here, it's going to do this and attack this. And for those who don't know, Gloomhaven on the forums has monster quizzes to figure the stuff out. It's got apps to help figure the stuff out. It seems intuitive, but there's a lot of niche cases that completely throw your understanding of how the AI works out the window. Oh, I thought it just always attacked whoever was closer to them. Well, not exactly. In some cases, it can blah, 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 blah. And I even saw the developers run into an issue where they had thought, okay, that's a bug. My summon companion didn't actually move this round. And then the next round it did. Well, it didn't move because you guys were blocking one of the two tiles it could have moved to end its turn closer to the bandit, so it just doesn't do anything at all. So having that automated helps a lot, but also in the exact situation that I said right there, I hope there's a visual representation of this. There didn't seem to be, but I was watching the live stream, and if they have any way of visually representing and updating how the monsters are going to behave as the turn order progresses or as you're hovering over where you're going to move, I think that's so invaluable to new players to grasp how the AI works. Because again, okay, the monster's just going to move and attack. They might not work how you think it's going to work when you get further and further into the game and you have items and characters floating in weird places and you're blocking doors. Okay, why did he go over the trap and not in this instance? Like, being able to automate that stuff and showcase that stuff, I think makes it so much more enjoyable for everyone. And one of the ideas I had, that I don't know if they're ever going to watch this, but one of the ideas I had was, if it's possible, since it's already programmed out what's going to happen when their turn happens, if there's any way to program that from the start of the round, meaning once the round starts, there's these sort of visual indicators of who the bandits, or I'm going to keep saying bandits because that's the very first enemy you fight, so I'm not spoiling anything, who the bandits are attacking. So here's a line from this bandit to this character. That's their focus. That's who they're going to attack. For certain enemies that hit multiple people, okay, they get 2 lines. The monster is going to move here and attack these 2 characters. And as the turn order progresses, as you move your character, okay, I need to move my mage here so that I can shoot this character. In real time, you'll see the kind of focus indicator change. Okay, you've moved past where your tank is. Now, all of a sudden, you're drawing aggro and the monster is going to hit you. And something visual like that to explain where the monsters are going, where they're going to move, who they're going to attack, I think could make this the de facto place to play Gloomhaven, especially if they get the multiplayer and the campaign in there. It's a huge headache when these niche cases pop up on how to handle this stuff, and something visual like that. Hell, I've played this game hundreds and hundreds of hours, and I still sometimes have questions on where they're going to end their turn or how they're going to do this. And visually representing that, I think, just streamlines that whole process. You don't have to try and mentally figure out, okay, we're the same distance, but you went first, but you did this, but you did this. Like, none of that pops up. That's a big rant on the AI of Gloomhaven, but automation really helps that out a lot. Now, some of the things I just noticed during the live stream, the town, which they called Wayward, has a couple shops in there with some items. There was a new item in there. I'm not going to talk about that. But again, that's being created with Isaac's sort of help and oversight. They didn't want to spoil the base game. Again, this goes back to what the scope of their vision was. They wanted their own unique location with their own unique scenarios and their own unique way of playing Gloomhaven, specifically so they don't spoil the base game. Gloomhaven is one of the only games that I've seen in which there's a huge amount of shh that goes around on Board Game Geek and Reddit. You don't call don't call the classes by their actual name. You call them by like Cthulhu face. This guy is Eclipse. Like, you don't say who they are or what they do. You try and keep that as secret as possible, because it is very fun to unlock that slowly over time and figure it out for yourself. And it's very hard to find spoilers for this. And that's kind of a good and a bad thing. Some people don't care for it, but some people like to experience it all for themselves without just going online for some help, and all of a sudden everything is spoiled. All the classes are spoiled. But they specifically wanted to step away from Gloomhaven in that. Again, going back to what their vision was of this game originally, and now it's being completely changed. But brand new bosses, brand new locations, new events, and the way you worked around the map, the way you unlock new things, their idea behind their achievements and renown and the stats that they show is different than the base game. It's pretty close, but it's different than the base game. They changed some minor things. Jumping is now a phase shift, so it wasn't weird when characters physically jumped over each other. Each party has a unique name and unique achievements to that specific party. There's no mention of some of the party compositions objectively being worse than others. If you've ever tried to play the Thief and the Spellweaver, the mage character, you'll understand how completely opposite those two are and how hard scenarios can be if you just play with those two characters. They don't mesh at all together. The Scoundrel greatly benefits from having someone adjacent to the monster, and the Spellweaver, of course, wants to stay in the back. None of them have a lot of hit points. None of them can really tank stuff. The Spellweaver needs elements. The Scoundrel can't do anything with those elements, and vice versa. Time after time, you'll see people post, "Hey, I'm having so much trouble with this. Yo, sorry, but in 2 players, that doesn't really work out that well. Try a different class composition or add in a 3rd player, and that'll even the game out." There's no mention of that. Hopefully they are working on it, but some of the achievements didn't really match with the party. Now, maybe that's working as intended, but for instance, they played the Spellweaver and the Brute, sort of the mage and the tank character, and one of the achievements was to poison enemies 30 times. Maybe that plays into, hey, we're trying to just give you a random assortment of stuff, and you pick and choose how you want to play it. But it's kind of hard to poison things with a tank character and a mage. Like, you get the poison dagger item, and that's kind of the only way to do that. It doesn't like really fit well into that class dynamic, but maybe that's how they envisioned it, or maybe they're still tweaking and locking that stuff in. There's no mention of microtransactions. Asmodee has DLC and microtransactions for a lot of their digital adaptations of board games, but there's no mention of that for this. They also have crowns, which they didn't talk about, so I'm not sure what that's useful for. So essentially achievements, renown, gold, experience, and then crowns, and I'm not sure what that's useful for. They want to support modding, which is great. At the end of the day, maybe someone just mods in the campaign. I don't know. But literally right on the title screen, there's an option, modding. So they're completely open to having people create new items or new enemies or new scenarios or new classes or new tiles to wander around on. I just didn't like this smaller developer who had a passion for Gloomhaven, who wanted to share that passion for Gloomhaven, who was working with Isaac to develop some cool new things, some unique twists on Gloomhaven, who specifically wanted to do something different so they didn't spoil the board game experience for people who haven't dived in or unlocked everything, to immediately be hit with just wave after wave of, this is shit, this is worthless, this is pointless, I'm going to boycott it until the actual thing we want, which is just Gloomhaven and multiplayer and these other features and these other features. This is like maybe even 50% of the game we want. Why would you even develop this? Like, this is a waste of time. I think that's really shitty, and that sucks. And I hope talking about it maybe has changed someone's opinion on this. I hope people that have never heard of Gloomhaven, if you like dungeon crawlers, if you like turn-based stuff, more contemplative stuff, this is definitely a game that you'll want to check out. There's no mention of price, so unfortunately I can't give you any sort of price for what it's going to be, but it's on Steam now. You can add it to your wish list. It releases on July 17th, and I hope that it's worth your time. I haven't got my hands on it, so I have no idea, but from what they've seen, I'm excited. I'll definitely try it. I like the combat of Gloomhaven, and I like the idea of kind of mixing it up and trying some new stuff. Anyway, I just wanted to give my opinion on that. I appreciate your time. I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.